This isn't something I've broadcasted all over my channel before, but Adventure Time is my favorite show. As a kid raised primarily in the 2010s, Adventure Time, a regular show, The Amazing World of Gumball, and more were the cartoons I grew up with. But even as a kid, I remember thinking there was something special about Adventure Time. I was drawn in by a world rich with mystery, creativity, and lore, and as I got older, so too did the show. What were originally simple stories about zombies, frozen businessmen, maybe the occasional vampire eviction, evolved into much more contemplative meditations on friendship, love, illness, identity, and more. By the time the show wrapped up, it was telling season-long arcs, delivering some of the best character work in cartoon history, and cementing itself as a classic in animation. And in between this peak of animated storytelling and the more traditional cartoon run of the show was what I would call the series' high point. I think Adventure Time hit its absolute apex from about season 4, the point where stories got more complex and emotional, to about season 7, when the show's first multi-episode miniseries titled Stakes first aired. During this era, the show was still telling touching stories, but often in a way that was still extremely bite-sized, fun, and above all else, comforting. I still love the last few seasons of the show and really appreciate the early ones too, but when I sit down to watch Adventure Time, since it is my coping mechanism, these are the seasons I gravitate towards. They are endlessly rewatchable and cozy, but still brush up against really important and interesting issues. I could sit here all day and list off my favorite episodes or the ones I think are the best, and if you guys enjoy this video enough, I might honestly consider doing a full series ranking and retrospective, which I think would be so much fun because again, this is my favorite show. But today I want to take it smaller scale and discuss what is just my comfort episode. This is the one I go back to when I feel stressed, overwhelmed, unhappy, really when I'm in any type of bad mood. And today I want to break down why this episode works so well for me and why I think it's maybe the most overlooked episode in all of Adventure Time. Today I want to talk about season 4, episode 23, The Hard Easy. Maybe the most key reason why this episode works for me is its atmosphere. We begin with a shot of rain pouring down on a swampy and mossy forest, and already I'm in love. This entire episode just screams rainy summer day, and as someone who loves those days more than anything, yeah, this really does it for me. This entire episode is immersed in the soft patter of rain sounds, in the muted grays of overcast clouds, and in the dull greens of moss. It's basically just a rain sounds video with cartoon characters in it. From there, we zoom down to Finn and Jake, who are our leads here. It's not always guaranteed in the mid to later seasons to get an episode with just Finn and Jake, but here, that's exactly what we have. That alone, I think, makes this an iconic episode and one that is signature Adventure Time, but it also helps that Jake and Finn are in peak form here. Their banter and interactions feel so real and so funny in a way that, of course, is also seen throughout the show, but shines here more than ever. While they do have disagreements and get angry, it's clear they love one another, and if you ever struggle to believe this human boy and dog were brothers, I'd really recommend you watch this episode. I'll also note here the animation. It's fluid yet simple as always, but the backgrounds here really give life to this forest. This is a place I feel as though I could get absolutely lost in, and of course that's exactly what our heroes do, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Finn and Jake are about to leave when they're confronted by Wooby Woo, a fish with legs who pops out of the water and didn't say something before because he's shy. More like, ooh, Wooby Woo, am I right? No? Okay, moving on. This interaction is also just so funny because of how obviously socially awkward Wooby Woo is, even though he speaks in a super monotone voice the whole time. I love how I immediately understand his entire character and can imagine his whole little life after only a few seconds on screen. So Wooby Woo takes Finn and Jake to his village elder, who immediately sprays Jake in the face with some nasty liquid, but I'm getting off topic.
Let me cut the cheese. Cut to the chase.
So the village is under siege by the Mega Frog, a giant frog man thing that runs up on the village, grabs fish people, and apparently tries to eat them, even though he's never succeeded. Now, as someone who loves frogs, I think this is dope as hell. And as someone who is also a horror fan, I really appreciate the slight horror element thrown in here. It sets up the stakes for the story, gives us what is a pretty creepy villain for the episode, but never outweighs the silliness here. Like, remember, this is a 50-foot frog. This also ties into the message of the episode as a whole, but we'll circle back to all that at the end. If the mega frog can't be stopped, the fish people will bear the devastating fate of having to get jobs. So Finn and Jake are tasked to find and stop the mega frog for the fish people, setting our story in motion. They get given a bag of lollipops as a gift and seem extremely optimistic as they depart on their adventure. They decide to leave a trail of lollies as they walk and eventually stumble upon the footprints of the mega frog. They start running after the prince, but after noticing they've passed this butt tree a suspicious amount of times, the pair decide to backtrack. But all the prints are crossed up and their lollipop bag ran empty a long time ago. Finn wonders if the confusing prints were done on purpose by the mega frog, but Jake writes this idea off, reassuring Finn that frogs are mad dumb. Finn worries they're lost, but Jake again reassures him, saying all he has to do is stretch up over the cheese and see where they are. Of course, when he does that, he can't see past the mist, and also he's immediately struck by lightning. So now our pair are lost in the forest, but never ones to get discouraged. They decide to simply set up camp and start a fire. The fire making process here provides some of my favorite visual animation in the show, period, and I love all the stupid and needlessly complicated ways our heroes try to get their fire going. Eventually though, Jake stabs himself in the face with a stick, and this immediately leads to what might be my favorite gag in the entire show.
Club, club, and stick, club, club, and smoke! Oh, hey, you got the fire going, right on.
Great stuff. But then they hear the mega frog and have to put the fire out. They venture into a nearby field and see the frog sitting alone. Viewing this as their time to strike, the duo prepare for battle in another very funny sequence. I also should mention here the music of this episode. Adventure Time always has a wonderful score, but the soundtrack for The Hard Easy is especially great. Feeling cute, relaxing, and propulsive all at once somehow. I can't really play it for you because of YouTube, but trust me when I say there's some awesome music here, kind of a blend of electronic and ambient sounds. After Jake explains the plan, heavy quotations, the pair jump into action and fight the frog. They're kicking and punching so hard, they don't realize it's not the frog at all, but instead a giant wooden decoy. Immediately, they again start talking about how they're going to come up with a new plan, this time to make a stick Finn and Jake to lure the frog out, but as they talk, a mysterious figure emerges from behind Finn in the clouds above the tree line. In what is one of my favorite creepy moments from Adventure Time, these long green hands just descend from the sky and grab Finn. The mega frog has arrived. The pair flip out and start running for safety, eventually landing in a cave where they hide from the frog. While they think they're safe, of course, the frog does some creepy shit again and gets inside. They start fighting the frog but are clearly outmatched and basically lose. The frog grabs Jake, opens his mouth wide, and starts to eat him. Gently though.
No teeth! Mostly tongue!
In this moment, Finn reflects on some spare pieces of dialogue from the episode so far, connecting the dots to discover what the frog's real deal even is. Leaping into heroic action, Finn scales Jake and jumps towards the frog, planting a gentle kiss on his lip and then effortlessly gliding onto a nearby stalactite in what is just the sassiest of poses. Suddenly, the frog stops and is raised into the air on a beam of light. He transforms from this frog creature into a beautiful prince, complete with perfect hair and some silly ass shoes. Finn's kiss broke a curse he has been under for who knows how long. This is a really gorgeous scene of animation with the frog body shedding away in these beautiful ribbons to make way for our prince to return. I also love how this scene represents a break from the rainy day aesthetic of the episode so far, almost as if lifting the curse has broken the gloom of the episode as a whole. The prince, of course, thanks Finn and Jake for their help and explains that he's been kissing everything he could get his hands on, but nothing would lift his curse. Finn says that you can't just break your own curse by kissing someone, but that someone has to kiss you instead. The prince thanks them again and flies out the cave, a circle closing out to black and putting a beautiful bow on the episode. And that's the main plot of The Hard Easy. It's fairly simple, just full of cozy aesthetics and elements I personally enjoy. But all that's only half the reason why I love this episode in the first place. There's some deeper messages here that, on top of the story and aesthetic, make it all the more warm and special. Now, one obvious theme here is that of fairy tales. We have, of course, the frog getting kissed and turned into a prince, but we also have the trail of lollies invoking Hansel and Gretel. And I think that's very intentional because so many fairy tales, especially the ones Adventure Time draws from here, are all about seeing past the surface, about understanding deeper truths and keeping an open mind. Finn and Jake's downfall in this story is the false belief that they have the power and smarts to beat the Mega Frog. While they are extremely confident here, they don't know how in over their heads they really are. They fail to see the threat of the frog, the danger of their surroundings, and especially their own shortcomings as heroes and would-be survivalists. In the scene of the episode where Finn and Jake are tricked by a frog decoy, they literally fail to see what's right in front of them because of their arrogance. But by the end of the episode, when Finn and Jake have their backs against the wall, it's Finn's ability to see past the surface, to really come to grips with what's going on, that ultimately saves the pair. Finn achieves that traditional fairy tale ending where the protagonist grows up and learns a valuable lesson. He learns that you can't make surface judgments, assume you know everything, and that you especially can't just plow your way through life. To be an adult is to make smart choices, to weigh situations and find the right thing to do in them after careful analysis. And I guess that's where the title of the episode comes from. The Hard Easy being a reference to how Finn and Jake, or really anyone, can look at a situation and miss how hard or difficult it might be for the assumption that it will all just be easy, that there won't be any more to the situation than what appears on the surface. And it's that type of easiness, the kind that disguises something more difficult, that is truly hard to deal with, thus the Hard Easy. And the Mega Frog actually represents a mirror to Finn and Jake here, as he is too trying to force the world into giving him what he wants, kissing everything he can get his hands on to try and lift his curse. And very fittingly, it's only after Finn understands the episode's lesson that the Mega Frog can be saved. And back to the horror elements of the narrative and what they mean. The Mega Frog is scary, but by the end of the episode we learn he's just a guy. So the story also becomes a tale about not judging others. While some people might scare you or make you uncomfortable, there's often so much more under the surface. And if you take the time to figure that out, you'll find someone underneath that's nothing like the person you thought you knew. And while this message is pretty general, I think it might actually speak to something a bit more going on underneath the surface. So this episode came out in 2012, 3 years before gay marriage was legalized in the United States. And while I don't want to overanalyze here or read into this episode something more than what it presents, the entire message of The Hard Easy is literally about understanding and empathizing with others who you might feel are different than you, and being able to put aside your preconceptions and face a situation for what it is. The finale of the episode is a kiss between two guys, not a romantic one of course, but still a symbol that makes us think about the queer struggle while we watch, and helps us to map the message of the episode onto that struggle. It's subtle, but this would be far from the only instance where Adventure Time has weighed in on LGBTQ issues through the use of its creative world. In my opinion, I add this loving and extremely resonant message to the pile of reasons why I love this episode so much. And with all that being said, I won't drag this video out or anything. It's just a project I've been wanting to make because Adventure Time really is a show that brings me so much joy. And this is an episode that brings me possibly the most joy. Maybe. There are a few others that challenge it, like, have you seen James Baxter? That horse is adorable. But yeah, I just hope you all enjoyed this one and appreciated the fun commentary I could bring. Recently, I've been struggling a bit with my channel. Videos that I've worked super hard on haven't done quite as well as I had hoped for, and it's easy to get discouraged when that happens, as I'm sure any other content creator knows. But I truly do appreciate all the support and love from my fans that I've been receiving recently, especially those who've encouraged me to keep pushing on YouTube and work towards more success in the future. It's y'all's kind words that inspired me to just make a video about something that makes me happy. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I do look forward to making more stuff for you all in the near future. Maybe that series ranking won't be so far off. We'll see. Seriously though, let me know if you enjoyed this video because I would love to do more Adventure Time content going forward, no matter what that looks like. These small episode breakdowns are also super fun for me, so speak your mind in the comments. As always, I'd like to give a massive shout out to my patrons. It is your support that keeps this channel going, and I also want to give a more specific shout out to all those people in my shout out tiers. So a special thanks to Heyu Smith, Sophie Villarot, Alex Mirabal, Grace, and Kaya Gokul Maya. You guys are awesome and thank you so much. But yeah, as always, I have been Ellie, you have been wonderful, and until next time, bye!